Here we are with the mandible, the only movable bone in the skull. And thankfully so, you wouldn't want to sleep on your side and all of a sudden end up lobotomizing yourself by cutting your brain in half. And so that's a good thing. But some people would say, no, it's a bad thing because a lot of people keep moving this up and down and keep talking and they will not shut up. So sometimes I wish it was less movable. But regardless, it is the only movable bone in the entire skull. I suppose you can say ear ossicles are too, but when we talk about skull bones, not associated bones, then we would only associate the mandible with the movement. All right, let's talk about a couple things, some structures. First, we want to get down that anything referring to the mandible typically is either mandibular or also known as mental. I always think if you bang your head against the wall, you're going crazy. But if you're banging your chin against the wall, you're already crazy, and so you're mental. So the chin we can kind of describe as mental, which gives us our nice first markings. So the tip of the chin is what we call the mental protuberance. So you can see this little bump here, as well as these little two holes. So you can imagine this little bump here. This is the mental protuberance, and then these little holes are called the mental foramen. You'll find that we can see the teeth, and as we go up to there, we get to this border where it goes from bone to teeth, and this little border is called the alveolar margin, where we kind of stop bone, start with teeth. And then, of course, you can see this crest. It kind of makes this crest. That's the alveolar crest, and then each of these bumps, I can hopefully not necessarily play on a human skull, but these ridges are called the alveolar processes, mandibular alveolar processes. Let's move back here. You can find this is like the ramus, this flattened area. I always think of ramus as ramp, so if you're driving along, this is the mandibular ramus. And then this angle where it changes direction is called the mandibular angle. This little notch, mandibular notch, earth-shattering, I know. And then this condyle, mandibular condyle. Really nice. A lot of people like the mandible. It has the condyle with the head and the neck, and then this kind of process here is called the coronoid process. All right, let's flip it around. See a couple things here. Oh, we find another hole. We know holes are foramen, but we already used that mental, so let's talk about this as the mandibular foramen right next to this little lip thing. This is called the lingula. Last two things, you can find this little line. This is the mylohyoid line. That's a little ridge that the mylohyoid will insert. And then this little tubercle, that's also known as the genial tubercle, also known as the mental spines for the mandible. So let's review. Mental protuberance with the mental foramen, with the alveolar margins, alveolar processes, and alveolar crest. You can see this is the coronoid process with the mandibular notch, mandibular condyles, head and neck, and mandibular ramus with the mandibular angle. Then we got the mental spines or genial tubercles, the mylohyoid line, mandibular foramen, and the lingula.